We're moving to our next speaker. This person represents the education profession. She's been an educationist ever since she passed out of college in early 90s. She's a principal of the Spartan schools, institutions. That's what she is. She's won several awards. She's received the Best Teacher Award from our late Chief Minister, Jayalalitha. She's also won Women of the Year Award Chennai a couple of times, 2013 and 2015. What makes her unique? She's a principal, and she really plays that role beautifully. But she's a principal who can ride a horse and ride a 250cc bike. Just in case her students run away on their bike, she can chase them down. That is who she is, right? Well, her purpose is to empower children. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mrs. Renu Sara Abraham. Come on, you can do better than that.
Hi. I share the same feelings as Susan, so that's why I asked for the podium back. So just see this much, and with all these years of experience, nothing has changed. My dad was an army officer, and my mother, a fabulous lady with huge leadership skills. So one would expect the resultant daughter to be very confident. But I had a very diffident childhood. My parents tried their best to build me up. They weren't very successful. So my dad had this mantra that he would keep telling me as often as he can, that my daughter would be second to nobody. I remember the first time he told me this, I was actually hiding the report card behind me. In a class of 43, I had just got the 42nd rank. I believed what my dad said because he brought me up like a tomboy. So he didn't waste a moment when he heard that there was a debate in my school. I was probably just 10 years old. So he crafted out the script beautifully, and he trained me the day arrived. I do remember standing in front of the audience, wishing everybody, just like I did now. I do remember smiling with fake confidence. But what I don't remember is what happened to me after I fainted. Out of sheer fear, I swooned. And now you will understand, when Joshua Madan asked me whether I can speak at the LeadTalks, my first answer was no. Because the magnitude of fear has definitely reduced, but it is still there deep within. I thank all the people who prayed for us yesterday because, Shantika, it really worked miracles. I'm standing here with 20% more confidence than yesterday. I thank God for having chosen me because after giving a string of excuses to Joshua, nothing worked. He kept patiently saying, no, you're going to talk. So then the final excuse was, I'll pray about it. So it didn't work because he said, at the LeadTalks, nobody talks unless God directs us to you. I was amazed. I said, a tiny dot like me, tiny not physically, but God has actually recognized me. A big thank you to Susan and Joshua. I had a very strict upbringing, being an army daughter, and those of you in the audience who are the youngest will understand that you're always bossed over. You have nobody to boss over. So maybe when I was about 10 years, I had this little something in me that I didn't want to be this prim and proper girl. I was always taught to say yes when I firmly believed it was a no. So one day I came back from school and I looked out for the weakest target and I found my mother. And I said, this is my opportunity. Believe me, for no rhyme or reason, I go to her and I blast her. I scream, I shout and say, this is not fair, how can you? And she looked shell-shocked. What happened to this girl? And then she said something that was life-changing. She said, you have all of your father's angry genes in you, and nobody can help you. I remember that night going back into my room, my pillow soaked with tears. And this was a very simple prayer. I said, Big Daddy, I have fabulous parents, but if you can uproot this angry genes from within me and pour into me your love, I would be grateful. So as a 10-year-old girl, you look around if any miracle has happened. Nothing happened. But the work had already begun, and now with 29 years of work, when I turn back, I believe in Philippians 1:6, He's still working on me. Today, as a mother of 2 grown-up boys and a whole plethora of children, I am still a firm mother. I'm still a firm principal. But I douse them with love, affection, and compassion, all of which are building blocks for children. Adults in India normally, to connect with the children, the very common question they ask is, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I had my answer ready. I thought that was my purpose. I stood there and said, you know what? When I grow up, I want to get married, and I want to have lots of children of my own. And I want to take care of my parents and my in-laws. Now it seems a little weird that how can I even think of something like that? But God hands you down exactly what you ask, because He gave it to me on a platter. The only difference between, left to myself, I would have had maybe a football field full of children. But much to my husband's relief, we have only 2 children of our own. But I'm surrounded by children. I'm soaked in them. We do have the opportunity to take care of our parents and in-laws. So just to tell you this, that these children who I'm surrounded by and the children at home, what do I teach them? I realize teaching them physics, chemistry, and maths is futile. So instead, I teach them to honor their parents. I teach them to reach out and help the community, give as much as you can. Try and remove the plank from your eyes before you can knock off the speck from your neighbor's eyes. And finally, to keep themselves sexually pure. I just realized that it is not available in any textbook, but it is available in the best-selling book of the world, the Bible. So we introduce generously the Bible, and along with that, tons of sensitivity. Why sensitivity? Because it is the need of the hour. Because in the era of video games, children feel you can kill 3 times and live back. So before I talk about 3 real-life incidents on sensitivity, I just want to tell you that I would be using in my examples a lot about my own children and the children in school. Now, why am I mixing family and work? Because when we come and stand here, most of the time, our family takes a back seat. If there is a tiny success story that I have to talk about, I want to thank God, because in all my years, I have been able to balance off both my family and work, and never, ever has God permitted me to compromise on the 2. So I thank God for my husband, who actually gave me the freedom to work. I want to thank God for my spiritual mentor, my mom, who never wastes a moment to, instill into me every little small thing that God would want me to do right. So we'll quickly go through the 3 incidents, and they're all things that happened in my life. Number 1, my oldest son and I went for a long drive when he was all of 6 years old, and suddenly he spotted a gray hair on my head. And he said, Mama, do you know you have a gray hair? Ladies don't like to be reminded about that. But all the same, I said, I know, shh. So he said, what does that mean? I said, it means that I'm growing old. To which we had about a 45 minutes inconsolable session of crying. I was upset that my son was upset, but I was extremely glad that he was sensitive to his family because he thought growing old means dying. Second incident is about my younger boy. When he was all of 3 years old, we realized that he loved his birds and animals. So when he was celebrating his 3rd birthday, we bought him a pair of ducklings. And that night he went missing. So we looked for him everywhere on the roads, and he wasn't there. So finally, fuming and, upset about the situation, went to our kitchen, and there was a 0-watt bulb burning there, and my son was horizontal. Switching on the big lights, assuming that something has happened to him, we found our tiny boy in a tiny swimsuit with the entire snorkeling kit equipment on his face. He had apparently poured half a mug of water on the floor and 2 ducklings next to him. What do you understand? So I said, "What is happening?" And then he said something beautiful. He said, "Mama, I have my daddy and mommy. These ducklings have no parents. So I have decided, this 3-year-old boy has decided to be the daddy and mommy to these ducklings. I will teach them to swim." Today is his 20th birthday, and I thank God. When I look at the level of sensitivity, nothing has changed. In fact, he says, "This is my most insensitive day," because on the 20th birthday, I didn't even smile at him. I was soaked in fear and, of what is going to happen, what my today holds for me. I even forgot to wish him. My third incident is about a very difficult child in my school. He's in standard 9. So I realized that this boy had issues both in school and home. Mother had come forward and said, "I need you to do something." I said, "Yeah, I had an issue with this boy. He walked out of class yesterday and disobeyed his teacher. So I told him, I'm going to punish you." So the mom was excited. Wow. So how did you punish him? So I said, "I told him, I'm not going to talk to you for a day." This boy fell at my feet and said, "Ma'am, I'm extremely sorry. I will never repeat it again. Please forgive me." Mother was excited by the innovative method of punishment. She said, "I'm going to apply this tomorrow." She goes back home, comes back a week later, looking not very happy. So I said, "Did it work?" She said, "Yes, he was very upset. He upset me." And so I looked at him and said, "You know what? I'm not going to talk to you for 2 days. And it's unbelievable what he said. He said, "Praise the Lord, I will have 2 days of peace." So she asked me, "What is wrong?" So I said, "The boy is the same. The situation is the same. The level of sensitivity is definitely different." So if you ask me what my purpose is going to be, it is definitely to train up the child in the way of the Lord. And when he grows old, he will not depart from it. I move on to integrity. Children and adults around are watching us all the time. If we can, we need to walk the talk. Another 2 incidents which changed my attitude towards integrity starts with my family. We went on this long drive, and our little fellow was just 4 years old. He was unwell, so he was clinging on to me. And as we were driving in our car, he asked me this question. So Dad, he doesn't ask me, he asks his dad this question, "Daddy, what was our first car?" So the dad said, a Maruti 800. "So what was our second car?" So he said, "It was a Santro." "And what was the third car?" And he said, "This is the car we are driving on." And he said, "What is the 4th car going to be?" My husband was very patient, but this disciplining mother, it took an inner stir. I said, "This is my moment." I took the boy aside, 5 minutes of counseling, saying, "You need to be happy in life with what you have. You can't be greedy. You can't be avaricious. You can't keep saying, 'What's next? What's next?'" He listened to me patiently for 5 minutes and asked me a question that left me dumbfounded. He said, "In that case, you should have been happy with the first car. Why did you move on to the third one?" I realized a very wise man said, "Talk, talk, and talk. And if necessary, use words." Children are watching. I am a principal who sits amongst the children. I don't have a room of my own. So the other day in school, I had this, vision of a child, a first standard child, looking very fierce and angry. And he was actually pulling a teacher who was laughing and smiling. I said, "What is this?" And I watched him come towards me, and he was literally dragging, remember, a standard 1 child. And as he was dragging and he put his answer paper in front of me, he said, "Do you know, ma'am, how hard I worked for this examination?" I said, "I understand. And this teacher, after all that I've written, has given me only 50 marks. So I looked at the teacher and said, "How dare you give only 50 marks? And she looks at me with a smile and says, "Ma'am, I gave him 50 on 50. The boy couldn't understand. He looked at me, I looked at him, I took out my green pen, scored out the 50, and put 100 out of 100. This boy looks at the principal, he looks at the teacher and says, "I told you we have a very fair principal." So I realized that it is very important for us to have integrity, and even from the child's point of view. In our school, even if you get the last rank, since I had tasted the 42nd rank, God was preparing me. Even if you get the last rank, it's not a crime, it's not a sin. But if you've got the 5th rank, compromising on your integrity by cheating and telling lies, we have an issue there. So we don't talk to those children for a whole day. So they don't know that these days it's fashionable to get the last rank and not to compromise and try and get the 1st rank. My second thing is every school has a little bit of cheating and thieving. So it was there in our school. I categorize parents into 2 clear categories. One is extremely generous parents who give them a lot of money and give them no time at all. The next category is those who completely starve their children of money in the name of discipline. The Bible says that don't make me so poor that I may steal. Don't make me so rich that I may forget you. So I decided that I'm going to start this 10 rupee method. So I said, if anybody is hungry and your parents have denied you, no problem, come to the principal. I'm going to give you up to rupees 10. You can take it. Next day, don't give it back to me. But tomorrow, if any other person needs the money, make sure that you give it to them. So the children were very excited, but they came and told me, "Ma'am, soon you will be a very poor principal." So I said, "No, I just realized in life that the more I give, the richer I become." So for all of you here who have children of your own, or you plan to have children of your own, I fear Matthew 18:6. I really fear. It says that if you cause any one of these children to sin, it is better you tie a millstone around your neck and be cast into the depths of the sea. Go home and read that, and this fear is what is keeping me alive after 29 years as a principal. I move on to the last topic, excellence. I firmly believe that if your purpose matches God's purpose for you, and you maintain a great deal of integrity. I think it was Rajiv who said about excellence that for Christians, it is not an option. It is mandatory. And I believe that you're on your road to excellence. I repeat that if your purpose matches God's purpose, and you maintain a great deal of integrity, you are on your road to excellence. My favorite character in the Bible is Joseph. So just before that, let me tell you that I was all excited till I sat here. That last year, I started to read the Bible. And by October, we have a small, very cute group of all age groups. We read the Bible and, we are accountable. So I realized to finish a Bible in a year, we need about 4 chapters a day. I was very proud of myself till I heard Mr. How Kip. And he said, I read it 13 times. And I realized he's clocking an average 52 chapters per day. So anyway, I remain happy and excited that I managed to do. But this time, January 1st onwards, I started reading the Bible. And this time on, believe me when I say, verses just popped out to speak to me. So this final excellence would be about Genesis 41, 15 and 16. In Genesis 41, 15, Joseph is asked to come in front of the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, I heard you have the ability to interpret dreams. I stop there and take you on another track now. I had the privilege a few years back to take my students to NASA, Orlando. So just before we went there, this guy who came to give us instructions on how to behave in America. So we said, oh wow, is there something we don't know? They said, yes, their pet question is, how are you? And in India, if somebody asks us, how are you? We will say, ayyo, adu enna solradhu. Yesterday, my neighbor's cat fell into the well, and I had to dive inside to pull it out. My sister rolled off the step, and she's right now in the ICU. He said, stop. This is just a courtesy question. How are you means just say, I'm fine, thank you. And why do I talk about this? Because this guy, Joseph, has got the biggest raw deal in life for almost 75% of his life. His mom died, his dad, his brothers sold him, his Potiphar's wife accused him wrongly, was in jail, all sorts of things happened to him. So I realized if I was Joseph and I'm going to be in front of the Pharaoh, what would I reply to the statement that, can you interpret dreams? So now I'm Joseph. I would definitely said, yes, sir, I can interpret dreams, but I also want to tell you something else. You have to get even with my brothers. You know what they did to me? And then, my mom passed away. No sympathy at all. No family, friends. I came here. Potiphar's wife was accusing me, and I jumped into the jail. And this butler, or this cupbearer who's standing here, never even thought about me when he came out. But what did Joseph say? I repeat, Genesis 41:15. Pharaoh says, they say you have the ability to interpret dreams. And Joseph says, it would be beyond me to interpret dreams. Only God can. If I'm standing here today, tomorrow you will be standing here. Would we turn back in life and give God that glory and honor for having brought us thus far? And if you're feeling down in the dumps, feeling useless and terrible sitting here, remember, you may be the Joseph in the jail who can't see your excellence, your prosperity. But if your purpose matches with the purpose of God, and I promise you, if your integrity is going to be 100%, not 99.9%, you will be Joseph the governor. Permit me to end this with a small, tiny song. In my son's favorite words, I am not a trained singer. And after what I heard Colette and Benny and all of them sing, I would request you to close your eyes so you don't see me at all. But concentrate on the words, because I apply it not once a year, I apply the song every day in my life. So if you can go back from here, applying this in your life, you will see your life moving into excellence. There is a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit that brings a fire, ignites the candle and makes it whole. So carry your candle, run through the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle, go light your world. We are a family whose hearts are blazing. So let's raise our candles, light up the sky, bring to the Father
In the name of Jesus, make us become in darkest times. So carry your candle, run through the darkness, seek out the hopeless, deceived and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. I don't know what you were scared about, but you know, when growing up, I had my principals actually became family friends to us, because every week they would call my father to visit them for the stuff that I did in school, right? So yeah, we shared a love-hate relationship. But on a serious note, you know, I'm so grateful for teachers, because teachers played such an important role in my life. I'm still in touch with my 8th standard teacher. So let's give it up for all teachers and professors, you know, because God uses them, right? Yeah, I'm just going to request Joe and Betty to come on stage and to hand over a memento for Renu. Yeah. So could you put your hands together for Renu as Joe and Betty come on stage. That was awesome. If you could come on the center, please. Yeah. It says, Renu Sara Alexander, future builder. That's what she is. Yeah.